Hey everyone, my name's HarryAtomic, and it's that time of week again where we do another community day poll. So this time we're talking about VR headsets for the Xbox and whether or not it would be a good idea for the upcoming Series X. Anyways, let's get into the video. So before we get started, I want to ask everyone, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already. I do an absolute ton of Xbox videos. I do videos like this where we chat about some topic to do with Xbox. We do collecting videos, gameplay videos. I've made a ton of videos over the last year or so on Xbox and I'm having a blast. So if it's something that you would be interested in, then please consider subscribing. Anyways, let's get into the video. So as always with Community Day, what I do is I post a poll on the community tab on my channel and everybody votes on it. They leave comments and we get a feel for how everybody feels on a certain Xbox related topic. So I've been getting a lot of ads lately for VR games and I have a HTC Vive for the PC. I enjoy VR the odd time, like maybe once per year or something. And it got me thinking about the whole VR revolution that was supposed to be happening and the fact that the PlayStation VR had such a foothold in the console space. And it got me thinking about VR headsets, particularly how Xbox is the only console to not have a VR headset, which brings me on to the poll. So this week I asked the question, would you be interested in a VR headset being available for the Series X? And it seems that the majority of people would actually like a VR headset. 23% said that it would be a day one purchase, while the majority of people, with 43%, said that they would wait and see exactly how it panned out. Now, VR headsets aren't known for being the cheapest things in the world, especially because you have to buy the console on top of it, so I can see why that this would be the most popular option. However, the thing that surprised me the most is how much interest there actually was for a console-based VR made by Microsoft. But as always, that's just one element of a Community Day video. What we do then is dive down into the comments and see exactly what you guys had to say. So the first comment in this Community Day comes from KMac Time, who said, would be a bad idea to introduce early in the next gen cycle, especially if they tried to bundle it with the system like they did with Kinect. Will drive sale price up much too high and will let Sony come in cheaper. If they do VR, I'd suggest they introduce it a little later after they get a foothold and try to take back a bigger market share after the failure of this gen. I couldn't agree with your statement more. Honestly, you've touched on possibly what the main crux of the problem was with Microsoft last gen. It seems as though the Kinect last gen has definitely left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially the fact that it was bundled with the console, which only drove the price upwards. Ultimately, the Kinect in the Xbox 360 era, when it was first kind of devised and launched, created a fragmented user base, which meant some people had it, some people didn't. Game developers didn't want to spend time putting Kinect features into a game that only some people would be able to use. And ultimately, I think that's the reason why Microsoft decided to bundle it with the console, so that then they could create an ecosystem in which developers would like to develop for Kinect, because then every user would have a Kinect. But unfortunately for Microsoft, customers didn't really see it that way, and increasing the base price of the console just to include a peripheral that not a lot of people liked the first time around was just a bad idea. I think that, as you said, including a VR headset with the console at launch would just be a terrible idea. There's no way that would fly at all with the market nowadays, especially a market who were so burned by the Kinect. Now, PlayStation already have a foothold in VR, but it seems that Microsoft have a bit of a business advantage at the moment when it comes to console pricing, because it seems like Sony are just waiting for Microsoft to announce their price before Sony announce theirs for the PS5. Again, they maintain that market advantage. Microsoft need to keep the console price down in order to compete properly with PlayStation, and bundling a headset would be a bad idea. So yes, long story short, I agree, including a headset later down the line would be a far better idea than including one now at launch. I mean, it did okay for PlayStation, so couldn't be too bad of an idea. Anyways, on to the next comment. So our next comment comes from Liquid Evil Gaming, who said, hate VR even on PC in its superior form. It just makes me sick and I find it to be a gimmick. It reminds me of the 3D on the 3DS. Everyone loved it at first, then they just shut it off. Honestly, I can't really argue with what you're saying. Like, my HTC Vive is like sitting over there. It's just like literally propped in its box in a corner. Like, I never take it out. I promise myself that I'm going to play more games on it, but I just never do. I can't justify upgrading it to an index or something like that, but you know, I don't know. I can see VR getting a foothold if the games were better for it. I think comparing it to the 3D on the 3DS is a good idea. I mean, if you think about it, 3D without glasses on a handheld, if you really sort of take on that tech, that's really impressive. Like, that's a really cool idea. It just so happens that it was never implemented in such a way that people needed to use it. Do you know what I mean? And it's not to say that gimmicks can't work. I mean, motion controls on Wii worked fine, but they didn't work on the Xbox 360. I think that the reason for that is the fact that Nintendo made it so that you had to use the motion controls, which meant that there had to be a good reason for it, if that makes sense. So games like Trauma Center, where you actually have to like trace out things, like that could not be done on a controller. However, the Kinect never offered that same experience, the same way that VR hasn't offered that same experience yet. At the moment, it's just you're in the game world, and that's really the only draw at the moment of VR. There's nothing that's like, you need to be in VR to play this game. And I think that's kind of sad. I think that the technology itself is amazing. If you would have taken me from 20 years ago and told me that you would have a VR headset that you could put on and run around in a game world, I would just be salivating at the thought of what you could actually do with that. But unfortunately, it just seems that the software and the experiences haven't quite caught up yet. Anyways, on to the next comment. Our next comment comes from Retro Finds Belgium, who says, I like VR as I have the PS4 VR. There are some excellent games such as Tetris VR and Astrobot. I wonder if the PSVR will be compatible with the PS5 as well. With the backwards compatibility, this would be fun to play my current collection on the new console. It would be interesting to see what Xbox would do with VR, but I don't think I would buy two headsets. So for me, it depends on what games I can play and what console will be the most appealing to me. This is really the crux of the whole argument as well. This is really the crux of the whole point as well, is that if Microsoft do enter a VR space, they're going to be entering it late. They're going to be pretty much the last ones to the party. I mean, even Labo, if you want to call that a VR experience, like, they have the VR thing at the moment. And you know, I know it was received okay. I mean, the fact that you could muck around in Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey with a VR headset on, I mean, people seem to enjoy it. But ultimately, yes, I mean, the PS4 was like the console gamers' VR headset. And I think that Microsoft coming in now and releasing a headset, or when the Series X comes out, I think that they would have to bring some really hard-hitting software titles to pull people in and maybe consider purchasing a second headset. I mean, you could always toy with the idea of using any headset on a console and just bringing VR games. However, I don't know, that would be a bit of a weird experience. I mean, I suppose they did jump on the bed with Oculus for a while, and that was supposed to be a thing on the Xbox One. But either way, the fact that Microsoft would be coming in late definitely means that they would have to focus on software as well as hardware in order to convert some of those PS4 VR users over to Xbox VR. And finally, on to the last point, which actually two people made sort of the same point, so I'm going to include both comments. The first comment is from Danny Willis, who said, a Halo VR experience would be freaking awesome. Mowing down grunts in VR is the stuff dreams are made of. And secondly, Safrati said, not entirely anti VR, but the idea of playing the new Hellblade in virtual reality sounds pretty nice. Again, just to draw it back on, it's all about the software. I mean, the tech itself could come out, the tech could be amazing, it could be like top tier VR headset at a great price that everyone's happy to pay. It could, you know, just push VR forward. Who knows what hardware would be in there, but if the software isn't behind it, people aren't going to want to play it. People want the experience of playing Halo in VR and actually stepping inside of Master Chief's armor. People want to play Hellblade. They want to like live inside that gritty universe that was created by Ninja Theory. And so, as I was saying, that focus on software is the main thing here. Bringing out brand new experiences just to show off what the hardware can do isn't going to cut it. People don't want to play games just to see what a controller can do. People want to use the controller as a conduit to get themselves into a game world and get wrapped up in a story or an experience. That's the way a VR headset should be. It shouldn't just be you standing in a VR world and looking around you just to see what the world looks like as if you were in it. What you want to do is actually be in there and use that headset as just a tool in order to experience a game world. Anyways, that got pretty deep there at the end, but if you like videos like this, then please consider getting subscribed. I do a community day every week. It's probably one of my most fun videos to do because I actually get to interact with everybody. It's just so much fun. But also, it's not the only type of video we do. We do Xbox collecting videos, we do gameplay videos, I run Minecraft live streams every now and then, which which there will be another one this week for anyone who's waiting on one. And also, please consider joining our Discord. We've just broke 100 members on Discord, which is just great. That's like 100 people all talking about Xbox and stuff, and like chatting about game collecting and just games in general. It's just loads of fun. So if you like Discords, you want to send me a message directly maybe, then that's the best place to do so. Anyways, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.